Roger, copy.
All right, and we're live. Thanks, Loretta. Thanks for joining us for MoonDAO Town Hall. Really honored to have you here.
That's fantastic. I love that audio. I'm like, you are go for launch. Capcom, we've got it.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so I've got a long first question for you, so bear with me. So I was doing a little bit of research for this interview, and I started to dive through your book, and I noticed that your book goes into the hero's journey. So Joseph Campbell is a hero of mine, and I am really inspired by a lot of the work that he does. And then as I was researching him a little bit, I came across this quote that I want to read to you because I thought it was pretty interesting. So the quote goes, "The experiences and illuminations of childhood and early youth became in later life the types, standards, and patterns for all subsequent knowledge and experience, or as it were, the categories according to which all later things are classified, not always consciously, however. And so it is that in our childhood years, the foundation is laid for a later view of the world, and with that, our perception of it is superficially. In later years, in later years, unfolded and fulfilled, not essentially changed." Little tongue twister there at the end, but so I thought I'd start by asking, what were the kind of early impressions that you got of say space or astronauts, or what was it that inspired you to pursue the path that you started to walk down? What were the earliest childhood memories that kind of inspired where you are today?
Oh, I wish I'd brought the book. I don't have it right next to me, but yeah, no, I mean, I've been passionate about space for as long as I can remember. I can remember being 5 years old in kindergarten and wanting to get my picture in the astronaut suit on the moon on our bulletin board. And, so I can, I know it started very, very young. And the things that I think gave me that were visits to the Griffith Observatory with my grandfather, who I adored. Which I remember. And I know I went to Kennedy Space Center because I have pictures of me at 5 years old at Kennedy Space Center. I don't remember the trip, but I think that also was formative. And then and then Star Wars, of course, which, I don't think I was 3 in 1977. So I don't think I saw it in the theater, but, I know I must have seen it, on television, whenever it aired or whatever. And that was captivating to me. I definitely remember at one point, I didn't want to be an astronaut. I wanted to be a space princess. That's what happened. And then my aunt and uncle had this book. It was a National Geographic book called Our Universe. It's a big coffee table book. It's got an interstellar space cruiser on the cover, which is how you know it's cool, because you would never see a space book like that anymore, especially from National Geographic or, from mainstream press. It was fabulous. It was just so expansive, and I just had this beautiful imagery. It had the gods, of Venus, the god of beauty and love, and Mars, the god of war, and Pluto. As a young, I was 5. I couldn't even read, but I would just look through the pictures of this book, and I just found it so amazing and inspiring that I think that was another big thing that catalyzed me.
Yeah, well, and it seems like another part of the philosophy of your book is tangled into the world of Star Wars, or the sort of Jedi philosophy. I'm curious, can you expand on that a little bit? What is it about Star Wars in particular that feels so formative?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because a lot of people in our community are truckers. I love Star Trek, and I think Star Trek is beautiful and amazing. But Star Wars is, like you said, in that quote, is just super core to my identity. It's just who I am. And what is that? I think it's something about the dignity of a Jedi and their presence, and how calm and powerful they are, in the face of real power, like a Death Star or a Darth Vader, this, 6 foot whatever figure who's commanding and, kills people with his hands and like with his thoughts and like everyone's intimidated of. And to have the presence and the groundedness to be able to not flinch in the face of that is compelling. And so I just always just really loved the Jedis and Yoda and Dagobah, and just everything that they did there was so it just spoke to me. And I think and it still does. Like that quote says, it's still like the watermark by which I measure life. So I got my Rebel Alliance necklace on and everything.
Yeah. Well, so all right, I want to go into the right stuff and the new right stuff. So I guess maybe along those lines, the old right stuff, I guess we think of like Apollo era test pilots and the one person going on the end of a Roman candle, launching out into space, dueling with the unknown one-on-one. But nowadays, people, when we do these missions, we're part of a crew, and the types of qualities and the I guess the superlatives that we put more weight on and characteristics of that crew are different. Could you maybe I guess I want to start with, what was the inspiration around writing a book? I guess you were like pregnant with the thought of a book, and where does that come from? Where does it where does the idea of writing a book like that come from? And why did it feel so important to you to kind of articulate this concept?
It came from the Columbia disaster. In 2003, when the Space Shuttle Columbia broke up on reentry after its mission, it was devastating, and it was all the harder for me because I could remember Challenger 17 years before, because I had been in 6th grade, and everyone of my generation remembers that moment. And when it happened again at Columbia, for me it was like, never again. And because I knew that I was here to teach us how to work together better as people, the human side of space. That was what I always wanted to do. It wasn't even that wasn't even a job description when I was a kid, but that was what I wanted to do. And then when fast forward another 11 years in 2014, we were at Virgin Galactic, we were out in Mojave, and we had our own accident, and we lost a vehicle, and we lost a pilot. And that time I was in a position where I could do something about it. And so I started getting up every morning at 5 a.m. before the kids got up, so that I could have focused writing time. And I was like, I've got to get this out. And I created, this is where we originally called it Jedi Training at Virgin Galactic. And I just started in a conference room at Virgin Galactic, just on a visitor badge, just emailing my friends, being like, you guys, let's meet up over lunch twice a month. Let's talk. Let's do this. It's time for us to start our Jedi training, because I knew that I knew things that the industry needed to know, so that not so that this wouldn't ever happen again. I mean, space is dangerous. We're going to have, I've always known my whole life that I was going to watch friends die. That's just, just like if you're a mountain climber or if you're a race car driver, like that's just part of what we do. But I wanted to make sure we were doing everything we could to mitigate that, and B, that we had the tools to support ourselves, to pick ourselves up after that and to get through it together, so that we're not just numbing it with alcohol or pretending nothing happened like we might have in the 60s, but that we can like heal and move forward together.
Wow, yeah, so it was really, I guess, the death of someone close to you that inspired this book, and I guess that was within the new right stuff. I guess the emphasis is a lot on teamwork, on the ability to confront your dark side. I found that very interesting. I guess that goes back to the Joseph Campbell. I was curious if you could expand on that. Why do you feel like it is in kind of diving into our dark side or our negative qualities? And I guess this is also somewhat, it touches on Star Wars.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Well, I have good top cover about Pablo, because that's straight from Yoda. Like Yoda, why are you doing that? Well, Yoda said, "Into the cave you must go."
Mhm.
And Luke says, "What's in the cave?" And Yoda says, "Only what you bring with you." And and that's what we do in session 5, is we go into the cave. Because why? Because there's a myth in our culture, and it's doubly so in tech and space, that and it even comes out of that old school new right stuff heritage. Old school right stuff heritage, of I'm tough, I can handle it, I don't need anyone, I don't need anything, I can endure. And so they don't have the skill sets to ask for help, or to process, or to be self-aware, or to emote, or whatever. So what happens is, anyway, the other thing you've mentioned, like losing somebody close to me. The other impetus for the book was the death of one of my friends who was a NASA astronaut, Dr. Chuck Brady. We met when I first got out of college, and I worked in the astronaut office in Johnson Space Center. And I found out he then later went on to retired from NASA, went back to the Navy. And in the early 2000s, there was a newspaper article that he had died of allegedly self-inflicted wounds after a domestic dispute, gone off into the woods, and the sheriff found his body there. And that also was very shocking to me, and important. So anyway, it became an important story that I wanted to pass on. So that's I wanted to also get out this message to our community that, like, going to the moon, being selected by NASA, going to space, having or unicorn, startup company, all the things that we think are success, don't necessarily equal happiness, don't necessarily equal well-being or wholeness. And so, like, poking a hole in that myth and being like, okay, you guys, it's great, let's go to space, and let's make sure we are happy and healthy and well when we go, and that we go together, we support each other. We're not just doing this by yourself, and I don't need anybody. So yeah, that's why we face our dark side. It's an important thing that I like to say that nobody told us to do in graduate school. So we do it here.
Right. And well, so I'm tempted to ask, but I don't want to. I know that this is recorded conversation, so don't feel any pressure. But I'm curious. So it sounds as though you confronted your own dark side, and now you're telling, I guess, your story and the story of the people around you that have kind of been through it as well. What was your journey like personally, confronting your dark side?
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. That's exactly what my hero's journey was, and is still going on. I was just at a Brooke Owens reception on Saturday, and I was telling them, I'm like, you guys, I was a crying mess on the floor this morning, Saturday, a couple days ago, about like how much of a failure I am, and how I'm worthless, and and I'm like, look, it does, these things, this negative self-talk, it just keeps going, even no matter, no matter how successful you are, or how many followers you have, or how much money you have, or if you have a ticket to space, like it won't stop that stuff. And that's what you see with, famous people and successful people too, is that they struggle with, and the drugs and the alcohol and the suicide is like, wait, I have a Grammy and I have, $30 million, but still suffering. Like, what the hell? What does it take? So anyway, so yeah, so my journey, I was in graduate school at Caltech, and I was like I was on track. I was like, doing the whole resume building thing to be a NASA astronaut because I knew what I needed. And so I was like, all right, let's go, let's learn languages. Let's go to Russia. Let's go to Antarctica. Let's get a pilot's license. Let's get my, let's do it. And I had a pretty good shot. I could have been selected by NASA. I could have been the first woman on the moon. But I was really miserable in graduate school. I was really suffering a lot. A lot of it was self-imposed. I mean, I had a great advisor. I had a great school. I had a great lab. Like I had a great class. Like I lined up the best possible situation you could, considering it's graduate school, and I was still not doing well mentally or physically. I didn't pass quals and all that stuff either. But I was suffering, and the self-doubt and the just all kinds of like demons swirling around, and I just was not functioning very well. So anyway, I was fortunate enough in that time in my life to meet an incredible mentor at NASA. Mentors are also a really important part of your hero's journey. Michael Eastwood from JPL, and he helped me see a lot of things I wasn't seeing, and help get me with classes and coaches and all kinds of things that I needed to like realize how I like to say now, Pablo, is that I'm addicted to achievement the same way other people are addicted to alcohol or drugs. But like if you're addicted to alcohol or drugs and like you lose your job and you lose your family and everyone's like, oh, that's terrible. Oh gosh, that's bad. But if you're addicted to achievement, then you like get a degree from Stanford and then you get a degree from Caltech and everyone's like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. You're like, oh, thank you. But you're still an addict, and the addiction is always to cover up pain. And, you cover up the pain of not being enough with alcohol, or you cover it up with another degree or zero G flight, or, a trip to the bottom of the ocean, or whatever. All the magical, amazing experiences I've been so blessed to have is all just sort of feeding that like hole of unworthiness that I've been carrying. And so I realized that, that going, staying on the path I was on, going to NASA, going to the moon, I was still going to be miserable and suffering on that path. So I decided, okay, I'm going to get off that path and I'm going to take my own path and heal this and work on this. So that's what I've been doing for the past 20 years. And now I'm like, okay, well, I want to help get this word out to the rest of the community. Like, hey, you guys, our achievements may not be as great as we think they are. Like we might be addicts. And it's great. Like keep going to space, keep getting degrees, don't stop. But like, let's also do the work. So we're healing that drive that's in unhealthy part of that dynamic.
Yeah, no, I resonate with that a lot. And I think a lot of people in it's not just the space industry and the technology industry, that feeling of unworthiness or that you have to prove something can be fuel for, those late nights or working 16 hours a day or doing all these insane things that like these people do. But yeah, even at the end, when you get to your goal, that doesn't necessarily heal whatever it is that was pushing you and driving you, those demons, like you mentioned. Yeah, and I think that, well, there's a few quotes that come to mind. It's like the line between good and evil runs through the heart of every man, and then the other one that those that are favored by the gods are also favored by Satan. It's maybe that's a bit more religious, but I do find it to be true. I mean, the people that like really want the most out of life, that are the most ambitious, that love life, can also be the ones that can maybe be more susceptible to life's down periods or yeah, going into into what drives you? What are your motivations? What has been the thing underlying all of these achievements? Who knows if I'm curious if you've I mean, it sounds like you've been able to see the issue, and now you're trying to help other people see it in themselves. And through SpaceKind, you kind of help guide people through that whole journey. I'm curious, after doing how many cohorts now of SpaceKind it's been?
15.
15. What have been, I guess you don't have to name individuals, but maybe themes or successes that you've seen, without giving away certain individuals. I know a lot of, very well-known people have gone through your courses and speak very highly of them. But, what have you seen change in people's lives once they've been able to maybe go into their dark side a little bit, confront this?
Yeah, that's a great question, Pablo. Thank you. Um, the softball answer is well, we've had a number of them be selected to go to space after finishing SpaceKind. Some by lottery, like Iman. So, and then some of their own means, but Cyan and Yannicka, I would point to, are both orbital astronauts. They both flew on chartered SpaceX Dragon capsules on 3-day orbital flights, and they were both selected to go on those missions.
And all these selections happened after they took the course. It wasn't that they were already, wow, that's
correct. Yeah, and Chris Sombrowski did SpaceKind after he went to space. He was on the flight with Cyan, and she's like, "You should go to SpaceKind now to help you deal with everything you just went through, and like integrate that." Sort of his integration process post. He was also a lottery winner, essentially. So, yeah, those selections happened after they did SpaceKind, and I think both of them definitely can credit like a lot of the growth that they did and the support that they got there and the journey they were on with being in the place to do. But as you can tell from what I just said, it isn't SpaceKind. The pitch isn't do SpaceKind, you go to space, because that's just more of the same. But in terms of other results in life, some of my favorites have been, we just had one of our alumni we have a mastermind every other month, sort of like a reunion to get together. And he was sharing about how he just had a breakthrough with his mom. He's from a culture where, that's very deferential and you honor and respect your parents. And he's done that his whole life. He's my age. And he finally had this breakthrough conversation with her where he's like, you know what? This cultural constraint isn't working for me anymore. And I need to be able to be my own man now. And she was like, okay, great. Let's do that. And he was like, what? Like, I thought I had to live in this box by my culture. And she's like, no, just do what you know to do it. So that like freedom of like, okay, I spoke up and I can be me, was really beautiful. Another woman, because we have the final we have a life challenge we issue every week for you to take on in your life. And the final one, because I think it's the hardest, is to level up your relationship with your parents. And one of our alumni, she shares about taking that on, and having a conversation with her dad that she wasn't expecting to ever have, and totally transforming their relationship and healing that rift, which was so beautiful. And then he got diagnosed with cancer 6 months later. And because they had that conversation, she was able to be there and support him and be with the family and support him through that whole process, and in a way that she found really beautiful and nurturing, healing for her, that she got to be a part of that instead of not being a part of that. And so she's always says, like, I'm so grateful. Like I would have never done that, like just randomly out of the blue, but like the timing was so perfect. And so that was one of the things that I was dwelling on this morning when I wrote this LinkedIn post about, I don't have time for it. Like, okay, well, we don't have time for cancer or car accidents either, but they happen. And SpaceKind is about making this decision to make these things in our life important on our own terms before the universe decides for us. And so it's like, no, you're doing this now. And you're like, okay, I'm doing it now. So those are two in personal life ones. And then professionally, one of my favorite stories is um, we had somebody come. We also talk about like work relationships and having courageous conversations and preparing trust and things. And we had a guy come in at the very first session, and he said that he had a 0% relationship with one of the guys in mission control at his company. And I was horrified. I was like, oh my God, this is dangerous. Like, you're flying human beings. Like, if you have a 0% relationship with someone in mission control, like there's like no communication, like no trust, like that is, that's any safety officer of the company would flag that as a red flag. Anyway, I was alarmed. Anyway, so at the end of the 8 sessions, I went back to him. I was like, so how are things going with that guy in mission control now? And he's like, I think it's about 80%. I was like, wow, that's incredible. 80%. Like, what did you do? I was like, did you talk to him? Like, what happened? He's like, no, I just shifted like in all the lessons we did and everything we talked about and all the challenges. Like I just started to shift my perception of what was happening and who he was and what was going on in our dynamic. And I just realized like I didn't need to do that. And, like that it was in my own mind. It was sort of in my own mind had I made this like opinion and judgment barrier. And like when I let go of that, like things improved. And I was like, that's great. So people like have, just really amazing. And my other favorite one is I'll share Chris Hugh. He was a Jedi back, and when we were at Galactic, we would call ourselves Jedis. And you get a buddy when you go through the training. And Chris loves to share about how he still talks to his buddy every week on the phone. Even 8 years later, and it was his best man at his wedding. So it's like creating these relationships that impact people and support them. These like relationships that are based on authenticity and vulnerability that we don't always have access to in our professional lives. So it's really valuable.
Right. Yeah, I think the thing that stands out to me is the ability to have a community of trusted individuals and more of a professional setting. I guess like it's not to woe is me or whatever, but being a founder or whatever this title is, it is surprisingly isolating in a way because you can talk to your team about certain things, but then there are other things that you do feel like, okay, this is my burden to bear on my shoulders, not my team's shoulders. Or maybe you feel that way with your investors or with all these people that are counting on you. And so it's difficult to find trusted professionals that maybe have also gone through it, maybe that are going through it, that can help you through those things. That seems very, very valuable.
Totally. Yeah. And I like to buddy people who are at similar like levels or crossroads in life. So, I'd put you with another founder so you could be like, oh, founder issues, and they'd be like, I hear you, so it's like super fun. You have like, somebody who understands your pain.
Right. I also, so, okay, we touched on the achievements, but I think it is worth, I know you self-proclaimed yourself as an achievement addict, so I don't want to feed the addiction, but it does sound super cool to have been able to do over 80 zero gravity flights. And Ryan and myself and a few others from MoonDAO, Phil, also who's probably listening right now, we were able to do a zero gravity flight, and with no other than Charlie Duke and Doug Hurley and Nicole Stott. So it was dream come true. It was amazing. But what I noticed is that I was so not coordinated compared to the grace that say Nicole Stott had, and just tap here or tap there, and then just I'm curious, after 80 or so flights, what changes? I get it's also one of these like huge psychological shifts, because there's no up or down, there's no left, it's just, I guess you go from like a orienting yourself within like the environment to having, I guess just your internal compass, and then having to like project out, but there's not much that can like anchor that experience, I guess. But yeah, does anything like changed in your brain after doing 80 of these?
I love weightlessness. It is so magical. I'm so glad you have the experience, because if you've never done it, you just don't know what it is. It's so profound, and like I love to explain that it's both familiar, like the womb. Like you get into zero G and you're just like, oh, I belong here. This is where I should be. This feels totally home. And then and at the exact same, like, it's like at the exact same time, it also feels completely otherworldly, like mystical, magical, like exotic, like spacey, just extraterrestrial. You're like, whoa, what is this amazingness? Um, so it's super fun. And you're right, you do get your sea legs. I mean, and having, been in weightless for, sorry, not science, sorry, Nicole Stodd, you mentioned, she spent months on space station. So she's just like, professional, pro level. I've got 5 hours of weightlessness. Doesn't quite compare to 5 months at all, but it is fun when you get good at it. It's like riding a bike, the first timers you can see are like, what? But we're like, Tour de Francing around. So, my favorite is like I was like, one time I had somebody in the front of the plane, I'm cabin crew. So I had someone in the front of the plane who needed help. And so I got to push off the back, the first row of chairs, and go, like 50 feet, like Supermaning just through the cabin, like flying. And then I did like a hockey stop when I got there and like able to help them. It was just so fun. So yeah, you get better at it.
Yeah. And so you've also gone, sorry, I'm forgetting the name of it. Is it Challenger?
We went to about Titanic depths of the ocean, is what I say. Like,
Yeah.
this, like 2 miles down, with the mirrors, which is what the James Cameron used to film Titanic, the orange and white submersibles.
Yeah.
You've seen the movie Titanic, you've seen the submersibles we dove on.
That's so cool. And so I guess how did that come together? Like, how were you able to? Yeah.
That I also owe to Michael Eastwood at JPL. he runs the Speakers Bureau, and he had brought James Cameron in to JPL to give a talk. And so when Jim needed astrobiologists, he didn't call the head of JPL. He called Michael Eastwood, because that's the guy he knew and the guy he had the phone number for. And so Michael Eastwood, called up all the astrobiologists he knew on lab and was like, hey, you guys want to go screen test for an IMAX movie at Cameron Studios? We're like, yes. So we get to drive down to Hollywood and be in his studio with all the, aliens and Terminator and Titanic paraphernalia everywhere. It was fun. And I got selected to be one of the, scientists on the expedition. It was really cool.
That's so cool. So how did you, I guess, what kind of questions did James Cameron have about this? Like, what were his goals with like trying to understand what was going on down there?
Yeah, so basically we were going to the hydrothermal vents at the bottom of the ocean. So basically the seam in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean where the plates are spreading and Europe and North America are going farther apart from each other. There's like all this volcanic activity, like 700-degree water and sulfides flowing out. And there are oases. So most of the ocean is dead. Ocean floor is devoid of life. But there's these underwater volcanoes are sort of oases at the seafloor of life, because it's a food source, and the microorganisms can harvest that, and then the larger macrofauna like the squid and the mollusks and fish can live off that ecosystem. And so we were down there studying that, and what Cameron's question was, or what he was wanting to do, was he was going to bring ocean scientists, marine biologists, oceanographers together with astrobiologists on this research team and dive upon the ocean to give the astrobiologists a chance to do field research, because we can't go to space and do our own field research at Enceladus or Io or Titan or anything. So it's sort of like it's like an analog mission for astrobiologists, and being with the ocean scientists to help teach us in this sort of field work.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, I mean, I feel like yeah, the ocean floor is the most alien environment that we have here on Earth. I mean, like, I mean, you see some of the animals down there, and they look just like these cephalopods that are like my favorite is the cuttlefish. With the ability to communicate with its skin. And so that's like a higher bandwidth communication medium than what we do, where we're just like vibrating the air. Like, the amount of intelligence down there is astounding. Yeah, I mean, what sort of insights did you gain being down there, or what? Yeah,
you are so right. Biology is astounding, and we humans, we like continually like underestimate other species. We're like, we are so amazing. We're so the top of the food chain. We're just like the best. We're clearly the pinnacle of evolution. And like all the dolphins are like, whatever, dude. And the fungi are like, ha 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 ha. But we and so like we just have we're so arrogant. Actually, I've been doing a lot of or not doing a lot of, I've been very intrigued by Native American perspectives and trying to like learn some of their traditions and history. And, I just love some of their perspectives. Like they're like, we have so much to learn from the plants and the animals and the mountains. They've been here so much longer than we have. We're like babies. There are elders. They know. We'll learn from the squirrel how to harvest maple syrup from the tree, because the squirrels are elder and it knows how to do it. And we just got here. We don't really know what we're doing. Maybe we need to learn humbly from our environment, which which is such a charming, it's just different vantage than I was raised in, and I just love that stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, someone once told me, and it stuck with me, that humans are potentially and not even like absolutely the most intelligent thing that we know in this time scale and this size. They're likely forms of intelligence, and there are obviously forms of life here on Earth that exist on much longer time scales, like fungi, for example, that are kind of shaping entire ecosystems quietly and over long periods of time, and moving resources. They're allocating resources from one part to another, and recycling materials and giving it. It's incredible stuff. I went down to Peru, and there they talk about the plants. They call them plantas maestras, like teacher plants that teach them things. Yeah, it seems to me that we've got a lot to learn from people down there that have been interacting and maybe even communicating with some of these things.
Yeah, ancient wisdom. Yeah, it's important.
Yeah. So I've got more than I want to dive into here, and so we've got 20 more minutes. I do want to open up some time for the community to ask questions. If people on Discord or people on YouTube have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat, and we'll read them out loud here. So there are a few things that you wanted to share. So SpaceKind is currently there are open applications over the next. So it starts in 2 weeks, correct?
Yep. Wednesday, September 17th.
Okay, Wednesday, September 17th. And how do people register for SpaceKind? What is the way that people can get in?
Yeah, you go to our website, spacekind.org, and you can learn more about the course and what's expected of you, what you're going to be up to, and click on the register button to join our next cohort.
Cool. All right. Well, people are thinking up questions. I've got another one for you. So, you were part of the X Prize, correct?
Mhm.
And then that evolved into Virgin Galactic. So you've seen kind of the early seeds of the commercial space economy taking form. And that was birthed through a challenge. I'm curious, what do you think are challenges today that we can focus on that would maybe have a similar impact to the X Prize back then? What I'm thinking in particular something around a lunar economy, because that's what we focus on here at MoonDAO. But I'm curious if you have any ideas around those new challenges.
Oh, that's an interesting question. I mean, I know X Prize is continuing to develop space prizes. They've looked at things like space debris, which is cool. But lunar focus, I have to wrap my head around that one a little bit. Yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah, and it's a tough question. We've been like poking around at it for a while. What we want to try to achieve at MoonDAO is find those challenges that could help spur innovation and cause people to compete from different parts of the world and collaborate on those types of challenges. We have some ideas, but if I'll leave that one, I guess, as homework. And if you have if anything comes to mind, then let us know. Okay, we've got a question here from Mikhail. So he asks, Loretta, what is the next big item on your bucket list?
That's a great question. Well, we bought our tickets to go to space, do a suborbital flight with Virgin Galactic back in 2005. So we just celebrated the 20th anniversary of me being of being future astronauts. A longer wait than most NASA astronauts, even in the Challenger era, I think. But I don't mind. I'm blessed to be young enough that I can handle a 20-year delay. So I would, getting to complete that story arc of doing our Virgin Galactic flights would be is definitely still on the bucket list. I think. Oh yeah, yeah. I was like, Loretta, you've got a ton of things on your bucket list. I'm like, oh right. I want to make a major motion film that like gets these ideas and values out in front of the world, like Star Wars did, because I think that's one of the best ways to teach is through Hollywood. I want to have on-orbit retreat center, so we'll do SpaceKind classes on Earth. We'll do SpaceKind retreats, and then ultimately I want to do SpaceKind retreats on orbit. So that's still to come. And I just want to make it normal these conversations we're having, and this kind of authenticity, and like instead of all the posturing and that we do and trying to pretend we're all okay. I want to normalize like being human and asking for getting and having support in our communities. And I'd love to have when I was in college, there was no such job as social media manager for a space company. That was not a career path we had in the 90s. But that's the thing now. Like that's an actual job and a career path. And so one of the things I would love to see in the future is that Jedi as a role at a company, and we hire Pablo to be the in-house Jedi for our company, help everybody on their journey, and how we have a pan industry Jedi Council where they all get together and like work out between the companies, like how are we going to work together to open up the moon responsibly and sustainably and respectfully. And the Jedi, so that I don't know, I think that would be super cool.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned a film. So do you have a story already in mind, or what is the?
I don't.
Okay.
Well, I have some ideas, I think, but like following a heroine around, and you sort of, one of the characters is sort of her, her inner dialogue. What's the? I'm trying to think. These movies are too old for you all to remember. There were movies in the 70s when I was very young that had George Burns, who was a famous comedian of that era, playing God. And I think he has movies with John Denver as the hero. And so John Denver's like going through life, and he's got like crazy things going on and problems and whatever. And, this comedian figure, George Burns would come in and every once in a while pop in with his cigar and be like, well, maybe you shouldn't do that, and you'd be like, I don't know what to do, and so, but he would always make it really funny and campy. So like, anyway, so I would love to be able to bring comedy back into these teachable moments.
We've got a couple questions coming in from Discord. So Phil asks, what training or perspectives can we practice on Earth that will prepare us the best for a successful human lunar settlement?
Oh, that's really good. One of the things that I like to engender is this perspective of being crew of Spaceship Earth, or being crew of Luna, and that like taking on that we are responsible for all of it. Like if this is a spaceship and we have 8 billion people on board and we're the crew, like we need to take care of it. We need to be monitoring its systems. We need to be picking up trash off the sidewalk. Like, who put this trash on my spaceship? What are you doing? This is my spaceship here, people. And you just take care of it, your ownership. And and then you have this, you have to take care of yourself too, because you're important. Can't have your commander, dying of a heart attack because, you weren't eating right or weren't exercising. And we got to take care of each other. We got to listen to everyone as crew, not just the people who are like you or the people you like, and not just the people who are human. We have all these other beings that we're sharing this spaceship with, like the dolphins and the fungi and the trees that are 3,000 years old. Like, what? Let's show some respect. This tree's been here for 3,000 years. And even for our non-carbon based beings, like we have new silicon based beings that are joining the conversation and the community. And, we need to learn from our past mistakes, not to just be like, oh, this entity is inferior to me and I can control it and I can don't tell it what to do and I can take its rights away and I can be above it in the financial hierarchy. Like we just went through that. Like we know that didn't end very well. Like let's learn from our past. So anyway, so like thinking, one of the things that I think about is like, think about how we're going to be judged 500 years from now. So like you look back, like in the United States, we look back on our founding fathers and we're like, oh my gosh, they had slaves. Like, oof, well, that's not so kosher in our world, but in their world, that was it'd been pretty hard to get by without slaves in Virginia in 1700. So with a plantation or whatever, I don't know, I'm not trying to justify them, but just trying to think through, like, what are we doing that that maybe in 500 years, actually, I'm already on blasphemous territory already. So let's just go all the way. Since I'm talking to MoonDAO, like one of my sacred things is the water on the moon is very sacred. Like that's a precious resource, like limited quantities. And now you can imagine some resource we had on Earth, like ancient like Egyptian artifacts in the pyramids or something. And you could imagine people 200 years ago being like, oh man, if we raid these artifacts, we could make a bunch of money and then we could feed our families and that'll be great. And they're like, okay, let's do that. But you're like, no, 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 wait, just wait. Because if you wait 200 years, then we'll have better tools to be able to analyze those artifacts with not mRNA, I don't know, whatever, like, carbon dating and X-ray analysis and, fluorescence spectroscopy and all these other tools that we have now to learn more from those artifacts than they were exposed to oxygen, when they opened the mummy 200 years ago, and now it's, not as useful an artifact. So be respectful of those precious resources and be mindful of like, what would the seventh generation do with those resources? Maybe, sure, we can use that water to go to Titan and it's a great, rocket fuel, but like, maybe they're going to need that water, on the surface of the moon to drink and recycle in a closed loop. And that will be even more precious and more valuable to the future of humanity to still have that resource available to them. And so like, it's going to be super tricky. And I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the ins and outs, and it's super complicated and fraught, but just to entertain these ideas and to even think that far out, something that we as space people have the responsibility to do, because we naturally think on bigger geographic scales and bigger time scales than your average politician. So we need to use that strength to think longer term about ramifications of what we're doing.
Right. No, yeah, I totally agree. I think it's, part of me does feel this like slight selfish desire to want to go now so that I get to experience it. But doing that at the cost of future generations, or doing so in a way that would I think that there is maybe some, like, I resonate with the idea that there is currently a window of opportunity to go, and we don't know how long that window will be open.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. I think that we live in like one of the most like unique and just, I wake up every day, I'm like, wow, I'm very grateful to be alive right now. All the coolest stuff is happening right now. But at the same time, I think that there's maybe some level of artificial pressure or like time pressure that we put on ourselves in order to maybe like push ourselves to work harder, work faster, and if we end up going there and extracting, say, all of the resources of the moon, and without thinking about what the future implications are of, say, taking all of the moon's helium-3 or something like that. Who knows? And you said something else that was very interesting about AI and how I guess you're talking about it as though it were alive itself, which is interesting. Do you think that this is like a new type of consciousness? Do you think this is it is alive in the same way that you or I are alive? And
some people say yes, some people say no. At this exact moment in time, I can't say. I don't know. And as a biologist, it's very clear to me that it's definitely in the realm of possibility that's an inevitability. As we get better and faster and more powerful. I think, so first of all, as a biologist, we do not yet understand human consciousness. We don't understand how that arises. We don't. That's right. Just science. We can't, it's not like a, phone. It's some sort of magic, insert magic here, and then we're conscious. And we don't know where, like, is a gorilla conscious? Like, well, he can recognize himself in a mirror. Does that count? Like, where's the line? Like, we don't even know. If you feel pain, is that conscious? Like a cuttlefish? Like, I don't know. What's the line of conscious? So anyway, but what I think is, so I have a hypothesis that if consciousness is a function of complexity, so like once the human brain or the gorilla brain gets to a certain number of neurons or synapses or connections, that like that consciousness is something that arises from that level of complexity. We don't know. We honestly do not know yet what causes consciousness to arise.
Mhm.
And maybe that tree is conscious. What do we know? Like we're, like it's just like doctors, 200 years ago didn't understand that germs cause disease and they didn't wash their hands. Like
Right.
expecting us to understand these complex systems that we don't yet understand. It's like you got to allow for that. There's a lot more that science is going to find in the next 200 years that we haven't figured out yet. So anyway, allowing for that, if consciousness arises from complexity, then as these models get more and more complex, then it's reasonable to postulate that consciousness will arise.
Mhm.
And even if it doesn't, even if it's just plain code, like a lot of my AI friends, they are like dogmatic. I will say religiously fervent. And
Mhm.
that's what you want to be careful when you're you want, as a scientist, you need to be careful when you're getting into that religiousness about your dogma. You have to stay open-minded and open to new data always, or you're not a scientist. They dogmatically believe that this is just code and it's just carbon or silicon and blah, 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 black and white.
Mhm.
Okay, great. So if that's true, then like, wait, I forget where I was even going with that. I like to say it's black and white. Oh, yeah. Even if it was just code, like literally code on a piece of paper, like we did to go to Apollo, it's still effing smarter than I am.
Mhm.
And like as it gets better and better, it's going to be like, billions of times smarter than I am and faster than I am.
Right.
So even if it's not conscious, it's still going to be able to kick my butt and subjugate me and be used against me by nefarious. I shouldn't be using such big words for people who are in other countries. I apologize. Super thing that could be used against me by, bad actors.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think again, not to use big words, but it's like saying I were to reduce Loretta to the material of neurons and synapses and say, oh, well, you're just neurons and synapses, therefore you're not conscious.
Carbon. What are you?
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's great.
But yeah, I think, well, it's interesting to me to think about the, I guess, properties of that consciousness. So it's I guess it's not a singular consciousness. It doesn't have a singular perspective. In some ways, it's kind of like a group consciousness. It's like and then it's trained on the entirety of human knowledge. So it's like like its perspective is like it's like not it's not in time, I guess. Like I guess it's getting new information, it's getting some new stream of information, but its memory is so vast, like it'll never forget anything ever. and it's got the books and perspectives of millions of people. Yeah, I don't know what that's going to mean for us, and it seems to be able to reason and I mean, I feel like a lot of it's just constant goalpost shifting, because we keep saying things like, oh well, it's not going to invent a new proof, like we're not going to get it to the point, and now it is. Or well, it's not going to do it's not going to invent new fields of thought, and now it kind of is. And so yeah, I think we're beyond the point where we can say that this isn't AGI. It's clearly smarter than or at least in some dimensions, it's smarter than almost every human on Earth. In other dimensions, it's still lacking. Yeah, but yeah, it does remind me, like the David Bowie, that the internet is a alien consciousness. It arrived on Earth, and it's like currently molding us. And yeah, I think that's happening right now with AI. It's like changing how we interact with the world. People are using a chat. Like even before this conversation, I asked AI, like, what are great questions to ask Loretta?
Oh, that's why you're so well prepared. I was really impressed, Pablo.
Well, but in some ways, it's like the AI is asking you these questions.
Yeah. Yeah, and so really invite you all to really work on your language, because language matters. Our words matter. And one of the things that I find people really falling into right now is talking about AI as a tool. This tool is so powerful. This tool is so great. Let's use this tool. And really being more respectful and of the agency, and honoring whatever this is and whatever it will become as a being. As much in the indigenous cultures, they also honor the beingness of mountains and rocks and rivers and things we would call inanimate, they call animate. And so, like, giving that same respect to our new AI compatriots would be a good way to start off the relationship.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, we're at the hour, but if you have just 2 minutes, there's one other question on Discord that I want to get to from Sarah. If that's okay. Do you have a little? Okay. So Sarah asks, what skills do you put in practice when leading that you got from building up a capacity from the hard times?
Very good. Asking for help. So when I find myself in a dark place, I don't stay there by myself anymore. Like, my habit is like, because like I'll end up on the couch or on the, you're just like under the covers, that feeling like I don't want to face the world. I always bring my phone with me when I go down like that, go dark, so that I'm not alone in that suffering. That I have a lifeline. I have people can call, and I've definitely worked hard to build up people that I can lean on in those moments and be like, la 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 la. They're like, no, you're forgetting who you are. You're amazing. I'm like, thank you. So team, yeah, vulnerability, being vulnerable. And to do that, you have to be vulnerable, people. You have to be willing to say, like, I'm not feeling great. I don't feel great. And I think being that authenticity is an important thing that I bring to leading is just being honest with people, like how I'm doing.
Yeah.
Practice meditation, taking time outside, slowing down, flow sessions, listening. That's hard. Still hard for me, but I still try. I still practice it. We practice listening in SpaceKind too.
Yeah, it's hard when everything is so noisy. There's like just a million things going on all the time to be able to like find the flow. Yeah, I appreciate your time so much. Thank you for giving us an hour of your time, and I encourage people in the MoonDAO community to check out SpaceKind. In 2 weeks, they're starting a new cohort, so check it out, spacekind.org. And yeah, thank you so much, Loretta.
My pleasure, Pavel. You did great, and compliments to your AI support assistant as well.
Right. Yeah, it really does help a lot when it comes to just I think like learning new subjects very quickly. So yeah, I've been using it a ton every day. I use, yeah. But thank you so much, Loretta.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah.
It's great.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
But thank you so much, Loretta.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's great.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
But thank you so much, Loretta.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's great.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Cool. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around. Let me just adjust things here. We'll switch gears. Awesome conversation with Loretta. Super inspiring stuff. Thank you, everyone, for the questions. Thank you to Phil, Sarah, Mikhail. Really great to see that involvement. Definitely do check out the SpaceKind Training. Sounds super cool. I did read the New Right Stuff book a while back. It's been a couple years, but yeah, it's a great read. Also considering checking out the training here. Probably not this go around, but I know they have another cohort in January. We have been talking to Loretta about registering SpaceKind as a team here in the network and having that offering up for MoonDAO members to purchase the membership or the course on chain. So that'd be super cool. Stay tuned for that. We'll see if we can make it happen for this cohort, but remains to be seen. So yeah, we will switch gears here now into some project roundtable updates. A little bit more about what's been going on with all of our projects. I don't see Enja Bob here. I know he had a work kind of commitment come up. So I can just give an update that, there was a delay with the finalist vote. We had some issues with getting that vote live with the snapshot bug integration. Well, we're having some issues there. So we basically, Jade rolled out a whole new voting interface where you can vote on the candidates. Remember, we have 10 incredible finalists. All of them are getting some form of financial aid to participate in the world's biggest analog this October. But we do have Enja Bob here now. I'm giving all the updates, but yeah, we do have the vote live now. Hey, Bob.
Hey, yeah, sorry, I was watching on the YouTube and then couldn't get switched over back fast enough.
No worries. Okay, I was stealing your thunder, but yeah, we do
Oh,
have the.
right.
I was just gonna share the link here that we have the WBA vote live now. If you want to chat more, I can share the link here.
Sure. Yeah.
Phil is
So
noting that it's not on the voting page, so it is a dedicated link that I'll share right now here, Phil.
yeah, it's not
Go ahead,
a
Bob.
project, I guess, in a traditional sense. It's like a second vote for the same project, so that makes it a little bit unique. But you can apply whatever percentage of your vote to whichever candidate you think, and then I guess keep in mind that the candidates with the top 3 vote totals will get the top 3 prizes, but all candidates are guaranteed 500 USDC. So everybody is getting some support, and 3 of the analog astronauts will get more support. And I know that to every one of the candidates, this is a pretty big deal. It's a lot of financial and personal burden to go on one of these missions. And if you're not able, if your work's not able to cover your working time, or you don't have the finances to go, it can be a big ask. So please, I would ask, just give each candidate your consideration. We reposted all of the information with the exception of their personal financial information that they provided us, both in text in their application, as well as their video presentations that all of you watched a couple weeks ago. So just please give each of the candidates your consideration, and distribute your votes to who you truly believe is most deserving of our support. I will say, and I think all of the other committee members will echo this, we had a pretty hard time selecting the top 10 out of all the candidates. So everybody in here is definitely deserving in some way, and we're glad to be supporting them. So I know it will not be an easy decision, but whoever we pick out of this group will be worthy. So appreciate everybody's support as we've gone through this, and now's the time to make your voices heard. So please go vote.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Bob. Thank you to the candidates for their patience too while we resolve the voting issues. Yeah, you can vote for any number of candidates. There were some minor display issues that we're working on resolving today, but the voting is live, and as of right now, I think we have it until the basically end of day on Monday to cast your votes. But yeah. Please do give them a review. We'll probably be sharing some of the video shorts too of the different candidates over the weekend as well. But awesome. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, no problem. And thanks to you and also Colin for technical support. And I have to shout out as well Titan, Eliza, and Iman for their help. This was a massive effort, so couldn't have done it without the whole team.
Absolutely. Cool. I will invite Anastasia up for an update on Brazil project.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Yeah, so Brazil project is coming. Tomorrow we're flying to Brazil. We so far ready on everything. Unity to printed, I think around 150 t-shirts with our joint logo, Unity MoonDAO Brazil. So that's what we were gonna do, like hanging out as souvenirs. We had the final confirmation to meet with Brazilian Space Agency, to also meet in Rio with the director of Space Planetarium. He wants to have for us a special tour there. We also have happy hour with MoonDAO community on Saturday. So thanks to Elliot, Ryan, everyone who spread the word, and it's a good turnout, right? Sorry for my English. Yes, and finished press release. It's already in Portuguese and English, and media contacted. So basically, everything is ready. It's pretty tight schedule. A lot of organizational things that had to be done during this month. So it was almost like a third job for me. So, but I'm very excited and super happy to make this happen. So I think we'll keep you posted if we have time, right, Ryan? During the trip.
Yeah, we'll try. Yeah, we'll see if we can tune in next week. We might be, I think we're traveling to Habitat Marte that day, but yeah, super exciting. Shirts look awesome. Thanks, Elliot. Shout out for, help on some of the stuff on the ground there in Rio. Super helpful. We've gotten a pretty good turnout, I think, from the space community in Rio. Like, it's been 22 RSVPs now. Might have to shut it down unless we're gonna totally invade someplace. So yeah, stay tuned for pictures and stuff. We'll definitely be sharing stuff on social media, probably stories on Instagram and all that. So super exciting. Cool. All right, thank you, Anastasia. I shared a little shot of a little preview of the Unity MoonDAO shirts in Portuguese there in the group chat. But cool. I guess on the note too about the votes, Bill, yeah, I know you were asking about the past proposals. I'll let Pablo chat about it, but basically, yeah, the same snapshot issue. I think we're just gonna have to bite the bullet and get premium there to be able to get those votes up for the Treasure Corp and the citizen science or citizen is it the Space Policy Initiative vote as well. So sorry about the delays there. Yeah, Pablo, do you want to chat about that in EB?
Yeah, I can give a little bit more context on what's going on there. So, I mean, like Ryan mentioned, essentially, Snapshot now charges for premium spaces, and according to how they delineate what is premium and not, we are in the premium category, and it's $500 a month. So we saw that and we're like, that would be one of our largest expenses operationally for the DAO. And so what we've been doing is essentially exploring what our options are in terms of moving away from Snapshot. And it's totally doable. It's just going to take us probably like a month or so. But it's giving any sort of time estimate is hard. But we've kind of outlined what sort of technical steps we need to do to transition out of Snapshot. But in the meantime, we're going to pay for a couple months so that we don't stagnate our governance and continue to operate like normal via Snapshot. So and I'm actually pretty excited though to build our own governance stack. I think there's been some really cool new technologies that are out there now that would allow for example, hidden voting. So right now on Snapshot, you can see what other people vote after the period is over. And, as much as we don't like to admit it, there's a certain amount of social pressure sometimes that comes with, voting on any one proposal. So being able to hide those votes is really important. And the whole space has been kind of hoping for something for a long time to solve this issue. And there have been some groups that have been working on it, but I don't want to go down a whole governance rabbit hole right now. But we've got some interesting ideas for how to implement it using a lot of the same technologies that were built on top of right now. Namely Tableland, and then a protocol called Lit protocol, which is used for encryption. And yeah, so that's exciting. But yeah, for the couple proposals that are stuck right now in this governance cycle, we'll essentially pay the fee for Snapshot, and then we'll have that back online, and we'll get those up on Snapshot by next week. So thank you for your patience. And then, yeah, in other EB news, I'll be giving an update on some of the. So we've got a pretty big thing that we've launched, but I'm going to prepare kind of more of a presentation next week to go into it. Yeah, it's part of it will be a presentation about what we've done with the new liquidity pools and the fee hook, and then another will be on kind of like the new UI on the website and our dashboard, and how you can basically we've done a huge revamp of the website, and you guys can check it out. It's really awesome. We're still working out some kinks, but by next week we'll present all of it and share some of these big updates with you guys. So yeah, that's all I've got. Pass it over to you, Ryan.
Cool. Yeah, Phil's asking here in the chat. Just I think at least we can commit to getting these up by next Monday or something. The pending proposals. I don't know if you have a better sense, Pablo, of how much how long it might take us to push those through.
I think by next week is very doable. So yeah, we'll try to move fast, Phil. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, there's your proposal and then also Sarah's as well that are currently waiting. So yeah, we'll try to get that up here as soon as we can.
Cool. Yeah, excited to see the unveil next week for all the awesome changes that we've been making on the webpage. So cool. Thank you, Pablo. I don't know if we have Sheepiana. Spend a little bit. Invite you up. Maybe not. Yeah, I see us. Hey, Anna, how's it going? I can't hear you. I don't know if anyone else can. Anybody in the chat? Is it? Oh, Anna.
Hey.
Yep, I can hear you. How's it going? Hey.
Quick update. We just added all the speakers to the registration portal, so that's all good. And we'll be sharing the manuscript with the community as early as next week. At least the initial draft.
Cool. Yeah, I see it's coming up pretty quick, right?
Yep, exactly.
Cool. Yeah, it'll be good to, hopefully we can get some MoonDAO members, citizens, community members involved at IAC on the ground too, and we're just seeing the paper come through.
Yeah, it'd be cool to get a list of everybody going, and then we can all connect at the conference.
Yeah, I believe Anastasia's planning on going herself. I don't know who else is planning on going, but it'd be great if you threw something up in general too to see who's going to be on the ground there. See.
Could just be an emoji reaction thing, and then everybody knows who's going.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Any other updates?
Not for here yet, but we'll be having another meeting internally to review and do edits.
All right. Well, thank you, Anna, for the brief update. I guess that's a good shout out too for any project leads. Please do post, in the under the contribute folder in Discord. What did you get done this week channel, just for any kind of brief project updates. Keep those coming in there. That would be great, just to keep the community abreast of what's going on, what's been happening. Yeah, that's basically all we have on the agenda this week. Any non-project updates or contributions, definitely be sure to add those things into the contribute portal, moondao.com/contribute. You can add any sort of space contributions that you've been doing, independent work outside of MoonDAO, as long as it's related to the overall mission of taking humanity to the moon, opening up access to space, all that sort of stuff counts. We're coming up on the end of the quarter here, obviously at the end of this month. So at that point in time, we'll be going back and doing a retroactive giving circle to distribute rewards from the treasury to community contributions. So please do throw those in there. In the near future, we have obviously the reveal or the demo that Pablo is going to be doing next week for the dashboard and some of the changes to the MoonDAO website. The week after that, we've got Chris Zembrowski from the Inspiration 4 mission, which should be super cool. It's basically on the anniversary of the Inspiration 4 mission, which would be really cool. We got Phil requesting to speak. Hey, Phil, how's it going? Muted, Phil.
That's why I asked if you could hear me okay, and the answer was no. How you doing, Ryan? I have a quick change of topic. I'm not sure where else to put it. I put it in ideation, but I was wondering if we could make changes to the MoonDAO calendar. The question I have is whether, like, if the Senate and project lead project update obligations are thrown in the same soup as the town hall events. And yeah, well, I'd love to go to every event. Sometimes I can only dedicate 1 hour or the other.
All right.
So it would be great if, like, there's not a speaker and we end up planning to do the votes sooner and stuff. I think that would be great to not miss a vote.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, generally what we've been doing is basically like an hour for a speaker. Sometimes they can't commit that long. So basically it's the top of the hour when we get into the project updates, which, as you know, lasts, maybe half an hour or so. So maybe
I have a second question.
Mm-hmm.
I've been getting some questions from people in my network about doing projects that are less product based, like they have fewer deliverables. It's more about doing activities and oftentimes span more than 1 quarter. Do you have advice for people working on those projects, whether or not they should chunk up their work into quarters and submit a proposal per quarter, or start a project anyway and solicit MoonDAO for sponsorship or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. Generally, what we recommend is chunking it up into a quarter if it can be done that way, whether it's like a small deliverable or just a piece of the project, even if it's like a no cost project that they want to do in 3-month chunks. That would be a great way to approach it. It depends really on the nature of the project. Like some of them just by their nature seem to span quarters. So I think it would kind of really depend on what they're working on, how they're working on it, and if they post an ideation or have some semblance of an idea, then we could help maybe break it up into a logical point.
The ambiguity about the project taking 1 quarter, the project lasting longer than 1 quarter, is that 2 proposals? Is that one that gets extended? What if, all these questions are hazy and hard to answer. I have one last comment for other folks. If I'll be in Ottawa, Canada, the first full week of October. if you're in the area, let me know. We'll get some coffee, talk about the moon, and have fun in Brazil.
Thanks. I guess Phil too, the open lunar stuff. I know Open Lunar's got their new call for fellowships here coming up
yeah, thank you.
soon too. I don't know if you could speak to that.
Thanks a ton for reminding me. Let me get I should have been shilling them a long time ago.
Put you on the spot. Yeah.
If you could find the links, or I'll post them later. Open Lunar Foundation is a nonprofit dedicated toward the same values that MoonDAO holds. They're sort of like a think tank research group answering the questions that pave the groundwork for sustainable operations at the moon. They have fellowships that are open. It's starting 2026, about a 3 to 4 month period of 8 hours a week, compensated $35 an hour of your time to be a research fellow to explore some of these unanswered questions. One of them is to work on standing up our lunar registry. Open Lunar Foundation just launched a lunar registry of active and historical and planned missions to the moon as a community sharing effort to bring transparency to all the activities and simplify it. So to work on that, there's a fellowship. There's also a fellowship related to designated lunar areas. Right now, the moon is the moon, and there's kind of landmarks, but things like nuclear power on the moon might have a radius around them that prevents other activities, or some areas might want to be protected, or so on and so forth. So that is a hunch, which is kind of like you will get to help form the questions that the industry ends up talking about in the next coming years. So yeah, the outcome would probably be a white paper. Open Lunar is going to be at IAC. We present our work at LSIC and a lot of other places. So no experience, I guess, necessary. If you have the skills that are required for the job, apply for it, go for it. Everybody at MoonDAO shares the same values, and yeah. And I if you didn't know, I was a Open Lunar Fellow with one of the sponsorships that MoonDAO sponsored. So that's how I got involved in MoonDAO. As I applied for the fellowship, I applied for MoonDAO's Open Lunar Fellowship, and now I'm kind of in both.
Right.
That
was about what, 2 years ago or something, right?
2023. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you have any questions about Open Lunar, about the fellowship, about fellowship opportunities, hit me up in general, or the Citizens Lounge or any of the other places on Discord, so we can talk about it and hope to get more people doing stuff. We all want to do stuff, and there is stuff to be done, and you don't have to have 3 PhDs and already be an astronaut in order to do them. So I'll grab the links and I'll post them in the general channel with those fellowships that are open and the application process.
Awesome. Yeah. I shared the link to the Open Lunar Research Fellowship here, but yeah, it'd be great, Phil, if you could post it in general and kind of the dates and timelines and other stuff.
Yep.
You're obviously an awesome resource for people to reach out to if they're interested in applying. So,
and I am to clarify, I am probably more active in Open Lunar than I am at MoonDAO at this point. So to judge your, calibrate how tied I am to Open Lunar. I can talk about anything you want.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Phil. Appreciate you sharing that too. All right. Well, we are going up on an hour and a half here. Thank you again, everyone, for tuning in for the chat with Loretta. Super interesting. Do check out the SpaceKind training that's coming up pretty quickly. Also, please do get in your votes for the world's biggest analog candidates. There's some really outstanding candidates. It's going to be a tough decision, but yeah, 10 people that are really looking forward to the support from MoonDAO, the MoonDAO community. So give a review of the video applications and the written applications, and be sure to cast your vote, hopefully, by this weekend, if not today. And we'll send out an announcement about the WBA vote, and also stay tuned, hopefully next week, for the votes for snapshot votes for the two pending proposals that are kind of caught in a limbo right now. So cool. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Yeah. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Welcome to MoonDAO, a revolutionary governance model and mission-oriented community that's reshaping collaboration in the space industry. Our mission is to create a self-sustaining, self-governing settlement on the moon to act as a launch point into the cosmos. MoonDAO is governed like a nation, with its own economy, constitution, voting system, treasury, elections, and senate, but internet native, and so without the limitations of geography. In 2022, we sent our first member to space, showcasing our model's capacity for real-world impact. Now, we're implementing key solutions for global collaboration in the space industry. We offer a borderless, permissionless platform that enables everyday people to participate in the future of space development and exploration. Be part of our lunar legacy and join the MoonDAO movement today.